Israel. Israel Table of Contents.
Chapter 17. Haifa is the largest city in northern Israel, and the third largest city in the country, with a population of over 280,000.
And with 300,000 people, almost all of them Jewish, live in towns directly adjacent to the city, forming an urban area home to nearly 600,000 residents.
From Ashdod to Haifa, the distance is 81 miles or 87 minutes travel time.
This shows Haifa and Mount Carmel.
This is Haifa in the port area.
Haifa has a mixed population of Jews and Arabs, although Jews make up a 90% majority.
The Arab population used to be predominantly Christian, while 28% of the Jewish population was from the former Soviet Union. This shows points of interest in Haifa.
Haifa, built on the slopes of Mount Carmel, has a history dating back to biblical times.
This is Mount Carmel at sunset. As seen from the entrance of Kibbutz Mahagen Michael, Haifa is home to the Bahá'í World Center, a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
The bahá'í Gardens and Golden Dome extend from the summit of Mount Carmel. These magnificent gardens feature 19 terraces, and the centerpiece is the gold-domed Shrine of the Bab.
These terraces of the Bahá'í faith, also known as the Hanging Gardens of Haifa, are garden terraces around the Shrine of the Bab on Mount Carmel.
These terraces are described as the eighth wonder of the world,
and the gardens are one of the most visited tourist attractions in Israel.
This is a view of the Bahá'í Gardens.
This is the Tishbe Estate Winery near Haifa.
The Israel National Museum of Science, Technology, and Space is situated in an old Technion building, and contains more than 400 interactive exhibits.
The museum's displays illustrate the main scientific principles and technological achievements in Israel.
Haifa plays an important role in Israel's economy. It has several high-tech parks, among them the oldest and largest in the country, an industrial port, and a petroleum refinery.
Haifa was formerly the western terminus of an oil pipeline from Iraq via Jordan.
Two highly respected academic institutions, the University of Haifa and the Technion, are in Haifa.
Haifa University is built on top of Mount Carmel and offers a great view of the area.
About 16,500 undergraduate and graduate students study various topics at the university, specializing in social sciences, humanities, law, and education.
The Technion is part of the Israel Institute of Technology. Technion is the oldest university in Israel, offering degrees in science and engineering in related fields such as architecture, medicine, industrial management, and education.
The Technion, the Israel Institute of Technology, is an institute of technology in Haifa. Originally called the Technicum, it was founded in 1912. The emphasis was on natural sciences, engineering, and architecture, with a school of medicine added later.
Mount Carmel National Park is Israel's largest national park. It covers approximately 21,000 acres, with wild cliffs, sweeping views of valleys and peaks, and lush vegetation of forests and woods. Here is a view of Haifa from the top of the Mount Carmel.
This is the sculpture garden, or Gan Hapsalim. The aerial cable car transports people from the beach at Bat Galim up to Mount Carmel.
The Clandestine Immigration and Naval Museum tells the story of the struggles over the right to live in Israel.
The museum also tells the history of the Israeli Navy through library archives, models, photos, diagrams, and light and sound presentations.
These are exhibits in the Clandestine Immigration and Naval Museum.
According to tradition, Elijah lived in a cave on Mount Carmel during the reign of King Ahab, hiding from the king and his Persian wife, Jezebel.
This is a sign at the entrance to Elijah's cave.
The National Maritime Museum traces the history of seafaring and the development of shipbuilding in the Middle East, featuring exhibits and a rich collection of maritime mythology, horizontal ellipsis, Greco-Roman coins, stamps, modern seafaring, naval battles, and a special emphasis on Jewish seafaring.
The Israel Railway Museum is the National Railway Museum of Israel, located in Haifa. The Railway Museum is owned by the Israel Railways
and is located at the now-closed Haifa East Railway Station. The museum features the railway history of Israel and its neighboring countries back to 1892.
Chapter 18. Beit She'an is one of the oldest cities in Israel. Like most places in Israel, Beit She'an has several names: Scythopolis, Tel Beit She'an, Tel El Husn, Bezan, and Nissa. Beit She'an is in the Galilee region of northern Israel, where the Harod Valley and Jordan Valley meet, just 27 kilometers south of the Sea of Galilee, and 5 kilometers east of the Jordan River. Beit She'an is the archaeological site of a Jewish town and necropolis. The site is part of the Beit She'an National Park. Beit She'an is situated 20 kilometers east of Haifa, in the southern foothills of the Lower Galilee. Beit She'an is one of Israel's largest archaeological sites.
Beit She'an was settled as early as 6,000 years ago and has remained inhabited since then. The extensive excavation of a large mound in Beit She'an has revealed over 20 layers of remains from ancient civilizations. Canaanite ruins predate Israelite rule and the Philistines during the Old Testament period. Beit She'an is mentioned in the Bible several times.
In the 1st century AD, Beit She'an became a flourishing multicultural Roman city and one of 10 cities in the Decapolis Regional League.
Beit She'an was the Roman provincial capital in the 4th century AD. But following an earthquake in 749 AD, the city never truly regained its former status.
Since then, the Crusaders, Mamluks, Ottomans, British, and finally Israelis have each settled in Beit She'an.
Chapter 19. Latrun is a strategic hilltop in the Eilat Valley, 25 kilometers west of Jerusalem, and overlooking the road to Jerusalem. This shows the location of Latrun, about midway between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. This is the Yad Lashem, the Armored Corps Memorial at Latrun.
Yad Lashem, or officially, the Armored Corps Memorial Site and Museum at Latrun, is Israel's official memorial site for fallen soldiers
from the Armored Corps, as well as one of the most diverse tank museums in the world. A mandate-era fort serves as the main building of the site.
The Wall of Names, erected outside, displays the names of all the fallen soldiers from the Armored Corps, beginning with the War of Independence in 1948 and up to the present.
This is Yad Lashem, the Armored Corps Memorial at Latrun.
The archaeological site of the ancient fortress town of Megiddo has revealed more than 20 layers of ruins.
The ruins at Megiddo range in time from the Neolithic period, 7000 BC, to the end of the Persian period, 332 BC. Chapter 20. Eilat is Israel's southernmost city. It is a popular resort and busy port, located at the northern tip of the Red Sea. It connects Israel by sea to the Far East and the countries surrounding the Indian Ocean.
Eilat is at the southern tip of Israel, close to Egypt and Jordan. Eilat is adjacent to the village of Taba in Egypt to the south, the port of Aqaba in Jordan immediately to the east, and within sight of Saudi Arabia across the Gulf. This shows Eilat at the head of the Gulf of Aqaba, which connects to the larger Red Sea.
With the port of Eilat, Israel has access to the Far East by ship via the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean.
This is a view of Eilat, with Jordan in the background, and the Gulf of Aqaba, part of the Red Sea.
Eilat has been called the Israeli Riviera on the sunny Red Sea.
This is the glass-bottom boat to at Eilat.
This is the glass-bottom boat in the Red Sea for viewing the coral reefs. This is the Dan Panorama Hotel in Eilat. This is the beautiful lobby of the Dan Panorama Hotel in Eilat. This is the Dan Panorama Hotel in Eilat.
This is the breakfast buffet of the Dan Panorama Hotel in Eilat.
Maktesh Ramon, or Ramon crater, is a geological feature in the Negev desert. It is not an impact crater from a meteor, or a volcanic crater formed by a volcanic eruption, but rather is the world's largest erosion cirque.
Maktesh Ramon, or Ramon crater, is 25 miles, 40 kilometers, long, 1 to 6 miles, to 10 kilometers, wide, and 1,500 feet, or 500 meters deep. This is a wide panorama of the Maktesh Ramon crater. Chapter 21. The Golan Heights. The Golan Heights is the region of Syria that was occupied by Israel after the Six-Day War and recently annexed by Israel.
This is a viewpoint on the Golan Heights overlooking Syria. This is Mount Hermon.
The Golan Heights Winery is Israel's third largest winery. It is jointly owned by 8 Israeli settlements, moshavim and kibbutzim, which also supply the grapes. The first vintage of the Golan Heights Winery was released in 1984. Production is over 6 million bottles a year, 30% of which are exported.
Golan sources its grapes from 16 vineyards in the Golan Heights and 1 vineyard in the Upper Galilee.
Chapter 22. The History of Israel.
Almost 4,000 years ago, Abraham heard the voice of God and migrated from to Haran, and then to the land of Canaan.
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the patriarchs of the Jewish people, and bearers of a belief in one God, settled in Canaan, later to become the land of Israel.
Jacob, or Israel, had 12 sons, whose descendants became the 12 tribes of Israel.
Famine forces the Israelites to migrate to Egypt from Canaan, where they lived in the land of Goshen, and later became enslaved under the pharaohs for 400 years. Moses led the Israelites from Egypt, followed by 40 years of wandering in the desert.
The 5 books of Moses, known as the Torah, including the 10 Commandments, we received at Mount Sinai. The Israelites then settled in the land of Israel.
The land was divided between the 12 tribes of Israel. These are the borders assigned to the 12 tribes. After the conquest of Canaan, a monarchy was established in Israel, with Saul being anointed as the first king.
After Saul, David becomes the king of Israel, and Jerusalem is made the capital of David's kingdom. King David ruled Israel for 32 years. David enlarged his kingdom and brought it to the peak of political and military power. His son, Solomon, ruled after him until 928 BC. According to the Bible, Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms west of the Euphrates River. From Tifsa to Gaza, he was at peace with all his neighbors. 1 Kings 4:24. The first temple, the national and spiritual center of the Jewish people, was built in Jerusalem by King Solomon.
This is a visualization of the first temple in Jerusalem. After the death of Solomon, the kingdom split into two rival kingdoms: the kingdom of Judah in the south, and the kingdom of Israel in the north. Here are the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, and their neighbors, 2,000 years ago.
Chapter 23. In 720 BC, the northern kingdom of Israel was crushed by Assyrians. The 10 northern tribes, known as the 10 lost tribes, were sent into exile. This is the Great Assyrian Empire. 2,000 years ago. From about 900 to 607 BC.
In 586 BC, Judah was conquered by Babylonia. Jerusalem and the first temple we destroyed, and most Jews we exiled.
From 538 to 515 BC, many Jews returned from Babylonia, and the temple was rebuilt.
In 332 BC, the land was conquered by Alexander the Great, and then Hellenistic rule began under his successors.
This is Alexander's empire in 323 BC. This is the Hellenistic world in 240 BC.
In the period 166 BC to 160 BC, there was a Maccabean, or Hasmonean, revolt against restrictions on the practice of Judaism, and the desecration of the temple. In the period 142 to 129 BC, there was Jewish autonomy under the Hasmoneans, and from 129 to 63 BC, there was Jewish independence under a Hasmonean monarchy. Chapter 24. In 63 BC, Jerusalem was captured by the Roman general, Pompey.
This is the Roman Empire at its greatest extent.
The Romans ruled the province of Judea from 63 BC to 313 AD.
King Herod, of Edomite extraction, was a Roman vassal king who ruled Judea from 40 to 4 BC. Under King Herod, the temple in Jerusalem was refurbished.
The ministry of Jesus of Nazareth. The First Jewish-Roman War, 66 to 73 AD, sometimes called the Great Revolt, was the first of 3 major rebellions by the Jews of Judea province against the Roman Empire.
The second was the Kitos War in 115 to 117 AD, and the third was Bar Kokhba's revolt of 132 to 135 AD. The destruction of Jerusalem and the Second Temple occurred during the First Jewish-Roman War in 70 AD.
The last stand of Jews against the Romans at Masada in 73 AD ended the First Jewish-Roman War.
In the years 132 to 135 AD, Bar Kokhba led the third rebellion by the Jews of Judea province against the Roman Empire. This was the last of the Jewish-Roman wars.
After the suppression of the Bar Kokhba rebellion, Romans changed the name of Provincia Judea to Provincia Palestina, after the ancient long-time enemy of Israel, the Philistines. After the death of Emperor Julian II, in 363 AD, most of the Jewish settlements in the south were destroyed. The Jews remained mainly in the Galilee and in the larger cities.
Around 210 AD, the codification of Jewish oral law, known as the Mishnah, was completed.
From 313 to 636, Palestine was under the rule of the Byzantine Empire. Around 390, the commentary on the Mishnah, known as the Jerusalem Talmud, was completed. After the rise of Islam, Palestine came under Arab rule in 636 AD.
In 691 AD, the Dome of the Rock was built by Caliph Abd al-Malik on the site of the first and second temples in Jerusalem.
In the years 1099 to 1291 AD, the Crusaders dominated a major part of Palestine, known as the Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem.
After the Crusaders were defeated in 1291, there was the Islamic Mamluk rule until 1516 AD.
In 1517 AD, Palestine became part of the vast Ottoman Empire. It remained so until the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire in 1918, at the end of World War I. In 1564, the Code of Jewish Law, known as the Shulchan Aruch, was published. Chapter 25. From 1882 to 1903, there was the first large-scale immigration of Jews back to Palestine, mainly fleeing from Tsarist Russia. This was known as the First Aliyah. In 1897, the first Zionist Congress was convened by Theodor Herzl in Basel, Switzerland, and the Zionist organization was founded.
The second phase of large-scale immigration occurred from 1904 to the beginning of World War I, in 1914. This was the second Aliyah, mainly from Russia and Poland. In 1909, the first kibbutz, Degan and the first modern all-Jewish city were established.
This shows the lottery for building plots in the new city of Tel Aviv. In 1909.
In 1917, 400 years of Ottoman rule were ended by British conquest during World War I. British Foreign Minister Balfour pledged support for the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine.
From 1918 to 1948, Palestine was under British rule.
In the interwar years, from 1919 to 1923, the third Aliyah was mainly immigrants from Russia.
In 1920, the Histadrut, or General Federation of Labor, and the Jewish Defense Organization, called the Haganah, were founded.
In 1922, Britain was granted the mandate for Palestine, the land of Israel, by League of Nations.
Transjordan was given 3/4 of the area by the British, leaving 1/4 for their Jewish national home. In 1924, the Institute of Technology called the Technion was founded in Haifa.
In 1925, the Hebrew University of Jerusalem opened on Mount Scopus in Jerusalem.
The fifth Aliyah was mainly composed of Jews fleeing from Nazi Germany. From 1933 to the outbreak of their Second World War, in 1939 to 1945, World War II and the Holocaust in Europe. In 1944, a Jewish brigade was formed as part of the British forces.
In 1947, the United Nations proposed the establishment of Arab and Jewish states in the British Mandate area.
The United Nations General Assembly Resolution 181 Partition Plan was approved in 1947. The resolution was accepted by the Jews in Palestine, yet rejected by the Arabs in Palestine and the Arab states.
Chapter 26. Following the UN resolution, the independence of the modern state of Israel was proclaimed on May 14, 1948. This is the announcement of the independence of the State of Israel on May 14, 1948.
The Israel War of Independence, or Arab-Israeli War of 1948, broke out when 5 Arab nations, Egypt, Jordan and Syria, and Iraq invaded the territory in the former Palestinian Mandate immediately following the announcement of independence.
The armistice agreements left Israel with more territory than under the partition plan, including Western Jerusalem. Jordan annexed West Bank and Eastern Jerusalem, and Egypt occupied Gaza.
In 1949, armistice agreements were signed with Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. Jerusalem was divided under Israeli and Jordanian rule.
At the end of the War of Independence in 1948, Jerusalem was divided between Israel and Jordan.
Between the years 1949 and 1967, the Kingdom of Jordan ruled the Judea and Samaria highlands. Israel's waistline in the Sharon region was extremely narrow, totaling 15 kilometers, or 9 miles, in the area of Tulkarm and Netanya.
Between the years 1949 and 1967, the Kingdom of Jordan ruled the Judea and Samaria highlands. Israel's waistline in the Sharon region was extremely narrow, totaling a mere 15 kilometers, or 9 miles, in the area of Tulkarm and Netanya. From 1948 to 1952, there was a large immigration from Europe and Arab countries. In 1964, the national water carrier was completed, bringing water from the Sea of Galilee, or Lake Kinneret, in the north, to the semi-arid south. The Six-Day War was the first major Arab attempt since 1948 to destroy Israel. In November 1966, an Egyptian-Syrian defense agreement was signed, encouraging the Syrians to escalate tensions, which reached a climax in the spring of 1967. Answering the Egyptian call, the governments of Jordan, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Lebanon moved their forces toward the Israeli border. As a result of the Six-Day War in 1967, Jerusalem was reunited.
This is Israel and the occupied lands after the Six-Day War.
A few days after the end of the Six-Day War, the Israeli parliament passed a law that Israeli administration and jurisdiction apply to all the territory of Jerusalem acquired in the war. The following day, the Jerusalem municipal boundaries were extended to include eastern Jerusalem. The Yom Kippur War began on October 6, 1973, when the combined armies of Egypt and Syria attacked Israel in the Suez Canal area and the Golan Heights.
In a few days of hard fighting, Egypt established itself on the eastern side of the Suez Canal, and the Syrians captured a large portion of the Golan Heights. The attacks were halted, and a counterattack by Israeli forces succeeded in pushing back the Egyptian forces, crossing the canal, and reaching within 101 kilometers of Cairo.
On the Golan Heights, the Syrian forces were repulsed completely, and Israeli forces captured an enclave in Syrian territory.
The Golan Heights have been under Israeli control since 1981, and are strategically important for several reasons. A. Israeli presence in the Golan Heights provides a defensible border against invasion by land. B. All of northern Israel would be within range of direct artillery fire from the Golan Heights. And C. The Golan Heights control the main water sources of the State of Israel. In 1975, Israel became an associate member of the European Common Market.
In 1977, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat visited Jerusalem. This led to the Camp David Accords in 1978, with a framework for a comprehensive peace in the Middle East, and a proposal for Palestinian self-government. The Israel-Egypt Peace Treaty was signed in 1979. Prime Minister Menachem Begin and President Anwar Sadat were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
In 1981, the Israeli Air Force destroyed the Iraqi nuclear reactor just before it was to become operative. Operation Moses. The immigration of Jews from Ethiopia took place in 1984.
1989 marked the start of mass immigration of Jews from former Soviet Union. The Oslo Accords for the Palestinian self-government were signed in 1993. The Israel-Jordan Peace Treaty was signed that year. And Rabin, Peres, and Arafat were awarded Nobel Peace Prize.
Broadened Palestinian self-government was implemented in 1995 in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, and a Palestinian council was elected. In 1996, Benjamin Netanyahu was elected prime minister for the first time. In 1998, Israel celebrated its 50th anniversary. In 2001, Ariel Sharon was elected prime minister.
In 2002, Israel began building the anti-terrorist fence to stop West Bank terrorists from killing Israeli citizens.
In 2005, Israel conducted a disengagement plan, ending Israel's presence in the Gaza Strip. And in 2006, after Prime Minister Sharon suffered a stroke, Ehud Olmert becomes acting prime minister.
In 2007, Shimon Peres was elected president by the Knesset. Israel declared Gaza hostile territory following Hamas's violent takeover of the Gaza Strip.
Chapter 27. We will now have some comparisons of Israel with other countries. This is a comparison of areas of countries in the Middle East.
This is a comparison of population of countries in the Middle East. As of 2004, this is a comparison of the population density of countries in the Middle East.
This is a comparison of the total gross national product of countries in the Middle East. This is a comparison of the gross national product per capita of countries in the Middle East. This is a comparison of the area of Israel to that of the United States. These are comparisons of the area of Israel to that of the states of New Jersey and California. This is a comparison of the area of Israel to that of the Great Britain.
This is a comparison of the area of Israel to that of California.
Chapter 28. The economy of Israel.
Israel is considered one of the most advanced countries in Southwest Asia in economic and industrial development.
Israel is ranked third in the region on the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index, as well as in the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report. Israel has the world's second largest number of startup companies, after the United States, and the largest number of NASDAQ-listed companies outside North America.
Despite limited natural resources, intensive development of the agricultural and industrial sectors over the past decades has made Israel largely self-sufficient in food production, apart from grains and beef.
Other major imports to Israel, totaling $69 billion in 2020, include fossil fuels, raw materials, and military equipment.
Leading exports include fruits, vegetables, pharmaceuticals, software, chemicals, military technology, and diamonds.
Israel is a global leader in water conservation
and geothermal energy.
Its development of cutting-edge technologies in software, communications, and the life sciences has evoked comparisons with Silicon Valley.
Intel and Microsoft built their first overseas research and development centers in Israel, and other high-tech multinational corporations, such as IBM, Cisco Systems, and Motorola, have opened facilities in Israel.
Tourism, especially religious tourism, is another important industry in Israel. with the country's temperate climate, beaches, archaeological and historical sites, and unique geography also drawing tourists.
Israel is served by 2 international airports. The large Ben Gurion International Airport near Tel Aviv,
and the much smaller Avda Airport in the country's southern region, as well as several smaller domestic airports.
On the Mediterranean coast, the port of Haifa is Israel's oldest and largest port.
Ashdod is one of the few deep water ports in the world built on the open sea.
In addition to this, the smaller port of Eilat is situated on the Red Sea and is used mainly for trading with Far East countries. The port of Haifa, the largest of Israel's 3 major international seaports, has a natural deep water harbor that operates all year long and serves both passenger and cargo ships. Annually, over 22 million tons of goods pass through the port.
The port of Ashdod is one of Israel's 2 main cargo ports. The port is in Ashdod, about 40 kilometers south of Tel Aviv, adjoining the mouth of the Lachish River. The port of Ashdod doubled Israel's port capacity. It is one of the few deep water ports in the world to be built on the open sea, and its construction involved significant engineering challenges.
Israel has the highest life expectancy in Southwest Asia and is tied with Japan for the second highest life expectancy on the Asian continent, after South Korea.
According to the United Nations, Israel has the highest literacy rate in Southwest Asia.
Israel's 8 public universities are subsidized by the state. The Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Israel's oldest university, houses the Jewish National and University Library, the world's largest repository of books on Jewish subjects. The Hebrew University of Jerusalem is consistently ranked among the world's 100 top universities by the prestigious academic ranking of world universities. Other major universities in the country include the Technion, the Weizmann Institute of Science, Tel Aviv University, Bar Ilan University, the University of Haifa, and the Ben Gurion University of the Negev. Israel's 7 research universities are consistently ranked among top 500 in the world. Israel ranks 3rd in the world in the number of academic degrees per capita, 20% of the population. Israel has produced 5 Nobel Prize-winning scientists. Israel publishes the most scientific papers per capita of any country in the world.
Israeli universities are among 100 top world universities in mathematics: Tel Aviv University, Hebrew University and Technion; physics, Tel Aviv University, Hebrew University and Weizmann Institute of Science;
chemistry, Tel Aviv University, Hebrew University and Technion; computer science, Tel Aviv University, Hebrew University, Weizmann Institute of Science, BIU and Technion; and economics, Tel Aviv University and Hebrew University.
Israel is a leader in the research and utilization of solar energy. Israel has embraced solar energy, and its engineers are at the forefront of solar energy technology, and its solar companies work on projects around the world.
Over 90% of Israeli homes use solar energy for hot water, the highest per capita in the world. According to government figures, the country saves 8% of its electricity consumption annually because of its solar energy use in heating. The high annual incident solar radiance at its geographic latitude creates ideal conditions for an internationally renowned solar research and development industry in the Negev Desert.
Official languages are Hebrew and Arabic. However, much official signage is also in English.
Israel's diverse culture stems from the diversity of the population, Jews from around the world have brought their cultural and religious traditions with them, creating a melting pot of Jewish customs and beliefs.
Israel is the only country in the world where life revolves around the Hebrew calendar. Work and school holidays are determined by the Jewish holidays, and the official day of rest is Saturday, the Jewish Sabbath.
Israel's substantial Arab minority has also imprinted Israeli culture in architecture, music, and cuisine. Chapter 29. The climate of Israel.
Will it be hot? Or will it be very hot in Israel?
Hail the average high and low temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year in Tel Aviv.
Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Celsius throughout the year in Tel Aviv. Here is the average number of days with rainfall throughout the year in Tel Aviv. Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year in Jerusalem. Elevation 2,490 feet. Here are the average high and low temperatures in degrees Celsius throughout the year in Jerusalem.
Here is the monthly rainfall in inches throughout the year in Jerusalem.
Here is the monthly rainfall in centimeters throughout the year in Jerusalem. Chapter 27. The money of Israel.
Currency exchange rates can change daily. For the latest exchange rate, click on this icon.
$1 equals 3.4 Israeli shekels. 1 Israeli shekel equals 29 US cents, or a little more than a quarter. A 10-shekel coin is worth $2.91.
Some useful words and phrases. Recommended videos, Israel. Recommended video, top 10 places to visit in Jerusalem.
Recommended video, amazing things to do in Tel Aviv and top Tel Aviv attractions.
Recommended video, amazing things to do in Haifa and top Haifa attractions.
Recommended video, top 10 best places to visit in Israel.
Recommended video, Israel top 10 things to do. YouTube navigation.
Israel table of contents. Thanks for watching. Please watch some more of my great videos.